This is George Washburn with Rock Music Critic. I'm here with John Kevill from Warbringer. How you doing today, John?
Doing pretty good, man. It's a lovely day out here in Maryland. We stayed with John Locke's uncle Cass out in the country, about like 40 minutes from here. It's just a pretty excellent, gorgeous area, and we got to have some proper bacon and eggs for breakfast. And,
Great, yeah. Welcome to Frederick. We don't get too many metal bands out this way, so
yeah,
it's good to have
you. It doesn't
you.
look like a super metal spot, but oh well. most nice places aren't.
Yeah. We're here.
Yeah.
But so you've got a new album out on Century Media called World Torn Asunder. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah. This is our third album, and it's the first featuring Carlos Cruz on drums. We worked from about like January to May on writing it, and then like May through mid-June recording. And yeah, it just came out a couple weeks ago. The band overall feels like it's our strongest album to date, and I think we've kind of gone for direction of everything the band stands for and does, just taken to the next level for songwriting, all of that, as well as trying to go do a couple more like mystical sounding numbers on there that are a little different.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree, it is definitely your strongest sounding album.
Thanks.
Okay, so how would you say this album's different from the previous albums? I mean, obviously everybody progresses and evolves as they go along, but is there anything, particularly in your mind that was different this time around that how you've changed since the first album?
Well, we've played like 700 shows since the first album, so that had a lot to do with it. Just we're much more professional as a band. We know how to write a song better because we've got a bunch under our belt now. We kind of know how to work with each other better, and we have a clear definition in all of our minds of like what the band is, what the band could or should or shouldn't do. I'd say is the best way to put that. And so difference-wise, I think we got the highest performances, best production. I think I did my best vocal performance to date on this one, and we really wanted to keep true to the essence of like what this band is, because a lot of bands, especially thrash bands, have made the mistake of kind of abandoning that core like reckless energy when they made and tried to make an album that progressed some. So I think we kind of took a 50-50 route of there's a lot of straight thrashers on there, or like death thrashers more in the vein of the second album sometimes, and then there's tracks like Echoes from the Void, Future Age is Gone, and Demonic Ecstasy that I think are each kind of like in a different way a different feeling for this band that we haven't done before.
Is there, at the same time, is there any sort of similar trait that has been on every album that ties it all together, that something about you that hasn't changed, that sort of maybe
high intensity, high velocity metal, that's not going to change anytime soon, not while I'm on board, man.
Okay. Excellent. How long did it take you guys to write and record the album?
Oh, like I was saying, it took about like 5-6 months to write it, and then like a month to month and a half to record it.
As I understand,
we had some shows in the middle of the recording process that kind of lengthened it artificially by a bit.
I believe I read somewhere that that was actually the longest you'd had to work on the album.
By far.
What?
It was a good thing,
of course, always good. So what's the songwriting process with the band? I mean, is it does everybody get together in the room and jam and create the songs, or is there somebody that the one guy writes all the music, another guy writes all the words, or?
No, we do a pretty old-fashioned band garage metal,
Awesome.
And it'll be based on like usually either one of John or Adam's riff sets that they either had beforehand or came up with on the spot. It depends, we don't specify, just anything that sounds good we'll start working with. I write pretty much all the lyrics, but there is it's not like I just do it in a castle alone. I work with the other guys. I talk to them about the ideas, get their input, and I give my input on like the guitar parts and stuff. So everybody has a part in everything, I'd say.
It's not like Metallica where everything's just James and everything is Lars.
Nah.
Nothing like that. Okay. So this is sort of similar to something I already asked, but how do you feel you've evolved over the three bands in terms of maturity, sound, what's better now, maybe that you know now that you didn't know when you first started doing your first album?
Well, we know how to go in the studio and do things proper. First album's a little on the sloppy side, as are so many first thrash albums, because most first thrash bands' albums is like a bunch of young kids playing as fast as they can, and that's exactly what ours is. We've gotten more comfortable just like playing this style of music to where we can really focus on total precision and accuracy with everything. And I think also with the songs we focus on not having the right amount of repetition. There's stuff that can stick but doesn't get boring. And I focused a lot on this one on having like just a lot of little hooks in there.
But to go with that,
what?
When did you guys start to hit with your first album? When did you start to recognize, hey, there's something here? Like from maybe the press or people coming out to shows or something?
It was with the EP that came before that we started to get like some interest going, which had 4 of the same songs from the first album, with a slightly different lineup. That's when we started getting some attention, because it had like Total War and Shoot to Kill on it and stuff like that, and the people still like those songs sometimes like the most out of any of our songs. So that got a lot of good attention. And also the EP recordings were really just like angry, raw, high energy, pretty contrasting, I'd say, to a lot of the modern metal. And it was that came out a little bit before people knew about the quote-unquote thrash revival thing. That was really exciting to a lot of people, I think, and and then the album following, I think that kind of helped put us on the map a little bit.
Speaking of the thrash revival, how do you feel about people lumping you in that? I mean,
we are a thrash band in 2011, so yes. However, I'll just say time is irrelevant. Only music is important. I think there's some thrash albums that came out in the last year that are better than some thrash albums that came out in like 1986, 7, whatever, and vice versa. I think sometimes I think there was a lot of like mediocre bands in the original wave of thrash, and a lot of great ones. I think that's still true today. So, as for us, we just try to write the best thrash metal in our own style of thrash metal, which to many people who kind of pan off the whole movement as all being the same shit, to people who actually listen to thrash, thrash band A does not sound the same as thrash band B, though they are both thrash metal bands.
Exactly. Yeah, I was big in the '80s thrash scene.
Yeah.
And I was really pretty disappointed when the grunge came along. Metal kind of went underground again, and then you had the death metal and the black metal kind of brought things back. And to start hearing new thrash bands again, it was and you guys were one of the first ones that I heard. It was just it was really impressive, and I was glad to hear that.
Well, thanks, man. I think thrash is just like the straightest, like fun headbanging kind of fun, angry / fun, because even like the most brutal and angry thrash records are a shit ton of fun to listen to. And I think I think death metal had that factor for a while, just being like, and that being awesome. But after a few years, kind of in its evolution, starts to lose that a lot, and just get really self-similar. So, in a way, I kind of feel like thrash is the best form of aggressive, straight headbang music that anyone's come up with to date.
I can agree with that. To continue my last question, in terms of how you have evolved, how do you see yourself evolving in the future? I mean, are there other elements that you're gonna incorporate into the music, or are you just gonna pretty much keep playing solid thrash?
Well, I think we always want to stay a thrash metal band because we are, and I think we're gonna probably have to try to add in some more, keep adding more different things. We have to deliberately make sure we don't write the same record twice. I don't think we've done that yet, but every record you add on there makes it harder to not repeat yourself. So
of course
we'll see. We haven't really planned. I mean, our third album just came out. We're probably touring on it for at least a year before we even think about the next one. See what place we're in then.
Sounds good. Behind the Veils of Night is the instrumental track on the album, and that is decidedly not a thrash song, though it's still very good. like I just said, you're thinking you're gonna have to branch out more in the future. Is there any elements that you might want to add?
Well, that one I wouldn't say is an indicator of any like future direction really. What it is was on the last album we did something kind of similar. We just felt that putting like in an instrumental track, like I'm a thrash singer. I can't really sing pretty or anything. And so certain things won't sound good with that. Like the fast rapid fire bark vocal doesn't sound good if you try to put it in a place that it doesn't belong. So that's why on the last 2 albums we've had an instrumental track, is just so we can put something on there that kind of breaks the album up. In this case, Behind the Veils of the Night was sort of consciously put to sort of change the atmosphere and build some tension before the last track, which we feel is like a really different kind of track for the album. It's sort of like a based around like just a large build up and a feeling, you know?
Yeah, it's always nice to, bring it down a little bit. And then build it back up again, because otherwise, if it's just thrash, it gets not, I don't want to say boring after a while, but having that sonic change.
I'd say the song that follows it, Demonic Ecstasy, is like only borderline a thrash song, It's all, I don't know quite what to call it.
Is the other extreme of clean vocals ever appearing on a Warbringer song out of the realm of possibility?
If it ever were, it would be much more like aimed at like Priest style than like whoa, Right. I'm not really capable of doing that stuff yet, though. My initial inspiration for vocals in the first place was like guys like Rob Halford, Bruce Dickinson, Kai Hansen. All just like badass metal vocalists,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why clean vocals in the modern age means that you're gonna sound like a bitch.
Yeah. I mean, there's power metal clean vocals where these guys are just la.
Well, and then there's also like good, some power metal clean vocals are like and not like ballsless or anything.
But but I mean, there's some I can't think of one off the top of my head, unfortunately.
What?
That it's heavy, but they've got some clean vocals that are not quite so sugary and sweet. But
no, it can't be too. I mean, it's metal. You can't be too sugary.
Exactly. So you guys have a new drummer this year, Carlos. Has having him in the band, changed the dynamic at all in terms of working in the studio or being on the road, or?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, Carlos is the easiest to work with of all the drummers we've had in the band by far. Guy just had a good attitude going into the whole thing, and he continues to do so. We've known him for years from the local scene. He played in Hexen. He was kind of the only drummer in the LA thrash scene that we were like, that guy could do it, Because Nick Ritter set the bar pretty high, I'd say. Nick Ritter didn't really like thrash metal or just like old school metal in general was never his passion. He's more like a prog guy. Just finding it was cool. Like he brought some of that to our band. And I think some of that remains in our band because of that, in a good way. And but he was sometimes a little difficult to work with. And Carlos is really easy to work with. And so writing the record was just really smooth, much less bickering. Writing the last record was actually the one before this was actually a really stressful experience for me. But this one was really comfortable and smooth, and so far touring's been more comfortable and smooth, and
That's great.
I don't have to stress. I have to work. The only thing I have to worry about is the actual job I have to do, not
Right.
associated bullshit that just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's good. So the tour right now, you're on tour with Lazarus AD, Landmine Marathon, Diamond Plate. How's the tour in general going, and how do you like playing with these bands?
I love playing with these bands. I think we have a strong package. Tour got off to a really strong start on the West Coast. It's turnouts have been a little weak since then, to be honest. We don't do that well in the South typically, but we'll see how we do on the East Coast. Honestly, I wasn't expecting this tour to be huge or anything. It's our first shot at headlining, and we just thank everybody who does come out to the shows. And fortunately, though, even some of the smaller shows have been ragers.
Excellent.
Which is, there's been sometimes not that many people, but a ton of energy, and that's good, because what really it pisses me off when I have to play a show that's like
3 people.
Not well, say like 40 people who just like don't care.
Right.
if the same 40 people are like super into it and like came out to hear our songs and stuff, then I still feel like inspired to go and give it my all and play the best I can for these guys. Heavy metal, like real heavy metal, is kind of the few the proud sort of thing. There's aren't that many people into it.
Yeah,
but I believe in it, so we're always gonna keep trying.
Yeah, I've often lamented the fact that the United States generates some really great metal bands, but they don't get the attention they deserve in this country, and Europe and Japan and places like that seem to really dig it a lot more.
That's true to an extent. Mexico City, Mexico City, there was probably like 3,000 people at this festival, and a lot of them, like a good chunk of them, came to see like us and Toxic Holocaust, two bands that here, aren't going to do anywhere close to that,
Yeah. So you'd say that definitely you get a lot more people at the shows outside of the U.S.
Depends where, not everywhere, but often that's true.
Okay.
Like we were doing headline shows in Europe like a couple of years ago, and it was working fine. Where we'd get like 150, 200 a night, and we're kind of a small band. This was on like our second record too, so we're newer than. Hopefully we can do better this time even. But we're on the East Coast. A lot of the we have a ton of East Coast dates this tour. Generally, the East Coast is good to us. People out here just seem a little more pissed off than the rest of the country.
It's DC. Everybody's pissed off at what's going on down there.
Yeah, well, I'm pissed off about what's going on down there.
Do you have any interesting road stories you can tell us?
Let's see. From this tour?
Oh, or any, just...
I always fall back on the same one, so I'm going to try to think of something different. Shit. See, because I've told... everyone asked this question, so... I've been writing a tour blog here, and this made it into that. But this is from this tour because it's pertinent. It's nothing too crazy, but just the dudes from Lazarus AD are ultimate bro dogs, and they have this big plastic horn or vuvuzela, and basically it's a ritual on this tour almost every night that. And it happened they brought it on stage once, and John pounded the vuvuzela. It's a beer bong. That's what it is. But you have to sound the horn, then chug the beer, and then sound the horn once again. And so it's basically the coolest beer bong I've seen.
Excellent.
And it's signals for the riders of Brohan to assemble.
Excellent. So when you're on the road, how do you guys relax, blow off steam, keep from going stir crazy?
Walk around alone sometimes. Play StarCraft. I bring my laptop. I'm a pretty good Zerg player.
I won't even touch it then.
Yeah.
Dude, okay,
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about that later. I can nerd out pretty hard on that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Or just like read a book. I try to keep it pretty simple. I cut down on the like ridiculous amounts of drinking. I just usually have a few beers a night and be good with that.
That leads into my next question.
Once in a blue moon. Okay, next question. Let's do it.
My next question was, I don't know if any or all of you guys are drinkers, but do you have any favorite drink of choice? Like a favorite beer. A favorite, like me personally, I'm really big on the Stone.
Sounds
Stone,
nice.
Stone
That's
breweries.
down by Escondido, a couple hours from where we are. We actually went to the Stone Brewery. It's on like one of our Warbringer YouTube channel things where we're all sitting there talking about the new album. It was like during the recording of it. That was kind of cool. Let's see. I like the Stone beers. Those are strong as fuck in general.
That's why I like them.
The old standby for just drinking beer, if you're trying to drink beer for the sake of getting alcohol into your system, is Coors Light. It's some river beer right there.
Yeah.
And that's the best of like the cheap, shitty American beers. I think I actually enjoy that one. We've all got quite an acquired taste for the Coors Light.
Yeah.
Then let's see. I usually like. Recently, I've been doing just straight golden European lagers, stuff like Stella or like a lot of the German stuff. Or actually, I like Kirin and Asahi a lot.
Those
are just like really crisp and refreshing, but also like full flavor.
Yeah, sometimes I like just a nice golden German beer.
That's usually what I go for.
And sometimes I want something that's just like so hoppy and just ridiculous amounts of alcohol. Particularly when I'm watching hockey.
It depends. Usually if I want to like drink many beers, I'll go for the straight golden stuff. If I'm just like having a beer and I want to nurse it for a long time, like give me an IPA or something, you know.
Yeah.
Because you can't really chug those, or you could, but it's a feat.
That's
it's
dangerous.
a mission.
Yeah. So, who were some of the influences that inspired you to start playing music in the first place?
In the first place, I'd say just basic like classic heavy metal. It's kind of where I got started. When I was like 13, 14, you know, it was like the late 90s. So yeah, as an angsty teenager who's in all the new metal stuff, that led me going to Ozfest, which led me figuring out about Black Sabbath. From that, I got into just like Sabbath, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, classic rock. And from there, I went to like Maiden and Priest, Halloween, Manowar. Those were like some of the earliest bands for me that, you know, I still listen to all those bands. And yeah, and from there, like into like speed metal, power metal, and eventually thrash.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And then from thrash, I got into like death, black, and some doom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like doom. Big Candlemass fan.
Yeah, great band.
So what are you listening to currently? I mean, like, if you have an iPod or an iPhone or whatever, you know, it doesn't have to be metal. If there's anything you listen to that's not metal.
That's the thing.
While you're playing StarCraft or something, what do you listen
No,
to?
I don't listen to anything.
You don't listen
It requires full concentration. But in the van is usually when I'll put music on. I've been listening. Let's see, we've been playing new records. I've been listening to the new Toxic Holocaust, Enforcer, Diamonds. I think is a really great record. I like this Cauldron record, Burning Fortune.
Yeah.
I think it's not. I think it's like mostly consistent, but the high points on the record are just like, you know.
What do you think of bands like Ghost, who sort of have that
Ghost is a good band.
retro Merciful Fate sound kind of thing?
But I didn't know there was more than one band doing that. Bands like plural implies. I only know of Ghost that's doing that now. It reminded me like a Blue Oyster Cult too.
Yeah.
I think they're. Because the more I've listened to that album, the more like the fact that there's just dropped so many like overt Satan bombs everywhere, and like King Diamond would do it in a more like artful way. You know, A Dangerous Meeting doesn't really say anything about Satan in particular, but you get that really evil occult feel without it.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost more effective than just going like, you know. But at the same time, metal, Satan, whatever, I can handle it. Yeah, and I do like the record. I think the songs are catchy and good. I like it. I like that record and the other ones I named because it seems like a lot of metal records that you see in the modern age have like parts, but not really songs. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why a lot of the more like spastic extreme stuff, I'm just like, fuck this is shit. They didn't even try to write a song.
Exactly.
They stuck some parts together and we're like, oh, it sounds like this. Well, okay, great.
Extreme for the sake of extreme, and
or just lack of songwriting. Yeah. I really want. I mean, I really do try to look for songs that have like parts worth remembering. You know, where someone was like, "Oh, this. I'm gonna try to make this memorable. Not necessarily super simple and catchy, but memorable because it has an actual impact when you hear it."
Okay.
Beyond like, "Oh, dog, that breakdown's sick," you know, or some shit like that.
Right. So you guys were in Baltimore last night at Sonar. How did Baltimore treat you?
That was awesome. Yeah, a really raging show. We played for like an hour 10. It was fucking brutally hot.
It is a beast in there. It's like a little brick oven.
Yeah. It was cool, man. We played Baltimore a lot. We'll probably keep going back. It's always Sonar.
Was it sweating from the ceiling like it likes to do there when it gets really hot?
It might have been, dude.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it's like you just went down in somebody's basement.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Where are you headed next?
Kingston, New York.
Oh, that's
we have 5 shows in New York State this time, which is more than we've ever done before. So we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. And
No problem, man.
is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you want to say? Anything you want to promote?
Check out our new album, Worlds Torn Asunder. Keep listening to metal. Keep rocking. See you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot. This is George Washburn from Rock Music Critic, and stay metal.
Yeah.
Just remember one thing, fucking stomp.